You have such an eclectic group. Uh, I re- I remember hearing about how you had, even back then when you first started off, how you had like a gang of interns.
Yeah. Oh
First
my
of all, I want to
God.
know because I was struggling to just get one intern, and here you are. You had a whole gang of
Yeah,
interns.
at one
What's your
point,
secret, bro?
I had like 20, 30 interns.
I didn't tell Lansky. Didn't I tell you that? I
Yeah.
told him. I said, "Hey, he had like 30 of them," and I was like, "How
Yeah.
some people are struggling, and meanwhile he's just collecting them." And you had no funding then.
I had to make it work. That's what you got to make it work.
You gotta tell me the secret.
Well, it's a couple of things.
Welcome back to It Starts Now, the happy hour of finance and business. My name is Stan Lane. And on this episode, I have a special guest. We're going to do things a little bit differently. Actually testing out a podcast room over at the Gentleman's Factory. And I have a special guest, another member of the factory that's here with me.
Yes.
Theodore, welcome.
Thank you for having me, man.
Before we begin, I would like for you to introduce yourself, introduce your company and what you got going on. And then we're going to get a deep dive on the situation that we find ourselves in right now.
All right.
And then we'll take it from there.
My name is Theodore Macio. I am from Queens, New York, born and raised. My company is NOM Media, stands for Natural Organic Media. And in short, our company is digital marketing and video production. That's what we focus in. Coming across a lot of digital marketing, focusing on social media marketing out in the world right now. It's everywhere. Coming across a marketing agency that looks like us is like far and few in between.
Right.
I haven't seen any.
No.
So we focus on digital marketing. We pride ourselves on being a diverse team. And, video production, from high-end to low-end video production, corporate videos to movies, to shows, to music videos, that kind of thing.
Oh, that's what's up. I didn't even know that tail end of it.
Yeah.
But you guys made a pivot, right?
Yeah, we did.
Okay. All right. So initially, what were you guys were into?
So initially, we were trying to be the first mainstream food media company.
Correct.
So
similar to Zaga.
I'm not even sure who Zaga is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's a new word for me. But what I would like to say is that, you have your Eaters, your Bon Appetits, your Condé Nasts in the world. And surprisingly, I have to look into Zaga now that you said that.
Yeah.
But
is it Zaga or Zagat? I believe it's Zagat.
Zagat. Zagat. Okay, I know what Zagat is. Yeah,
so that's my fault.
Like the Zagat ratings. Yes. Yeah, Zagat. Now that you said that way, yeah, Zagat. I know Zagat, but kind of familiar to Condé Nast, Bon Appetit, Eater. There is no mainstream food media company in the world right now that is Black owned in that space. We have our Ebonies, we have our Blavities. They all deal in like sports, culture, social events, fashion, beauty. But there's no mainstream Black-owned food media company that deals with just food. And I thought that was weird because food is like the biggest vehicle of culture. That's how everybody connects.
Absolutely.
So, we started off as that. That's still in the background. That's our passion project. But getting a little funding for that it's kind of hard. You know how hard it is to get funding out in these
We're going to talk about that.
Yeah. So we made a little pivot. We took our strengths and now we're providing it for other people, and it's taken off.
Yeah. I like the whole concept behind what you guys doing organically, right? Because initially when you guys started out, it started out as an idea, as in a concept, right?
Yeah.
And then you pivot, turn into a media, but it's still organically driven.
Yes.
How were you able to maintain that culture of growing something so organically? Because a lot of companies, including ourselves, always trying to reach that threshold of having some sort of organic following.
Yeah.
How were you able to capture that?
Well, to start off with, it's the money. So it's just like, yo, we don't have the money to put in the media, so we got to do it. We got to do it the cheap way, you know. But yeah, it usually when it comes to digital media and marketing, you know, you throw money at it and you get more views. You know,
Correct.
You know, especially on social media, it's like $20 a day gets you like this many views on this post or whatever, and that grows, right?
Mm.
But you know, we start off as a company that didn't have like a marketing budget of like $1,000 or $5,000 or even like $20.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, how do we grow our media company, or how do we grow other people's media company organically? And that's just through consistency, calls to action, just taking the fundamentals of marketing and putting it towards social media and digital marketing. Same way, like, you know, when we used to be on like the high school basketball team or football team, the coach would be like, fundamentals, wrap up, you know, it's that kind of thing. So, and it's working, it works.
Now, but you were doing this prior to pivoting and starting the company. The food, when you were in the food media,
Yeah,
you had that. How were you still able to maintain it?
Consistency, man. You just can't stop. Even if, you know, one thing I actually just posted the other day is like 30% is better than 0%. You can't expect 100% of yourself to be put into, you know, your company every day, but you have to do something just to show consistency. So, you know, some people, you know, take a break. They're just like, you know, one thing I run into a lot is that when people usually do like, you know, work on their companies, they're just like, man, I can't put this out till it's perfect. You know, I have to make sure like everything looks right, everybody gets the feel. And, you know, I've learned that like that is not the case, because
there's progress.
Yeah, you gotta, you know, perfection is the burglar of success or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, you gotta, even if you don't think it's perfect, you gotta put it out there. You gotta be real with your followers. You gotta be real with your community, and just be like, you know, this is something we did, it didn't work out, but like, here, what do you guys think about this?
And feedback.
Get the feedback, and it just grows like that.
Yeah. I think what you guys got going on, in my opinion, is pretty cool, because being a black face behind, you know, this new campaign to have like the social media. Do you guys grow the followings too? Or
yeah, we grow the followings. We do the content. Most digital media marketing companies probably don't do the content creation.
No.
They give you like, they're just like, they do like a deck for you, and they're just like, hey, we think you should do this, this, and this. You know, we suggest that you do this, this, and this. Go get the pictures, go get the videos, send it to us, and we'll market it for you.
Right.
But we're all encompassing. We're like, hey, we think this will work. This is your target market. This is your call to action. This is your mission. And we could do this for you. We could create this for you. We could do this for you. And then we'll bring it. We're just all encompassing.
How do you establish that? How do you establish as far as this would be a good marketing play for you, for your company, or for this individual? How do you set that apart from everybody else? There's some kind of like strategy that you use, or you watch them, you get their bio? Like, how does it work?
Yeah, so usually when we onboard a client, we have like a Google survey, and we ask them, our survey is probably like 50 questions, 20 to 50 questions. I can't think of off the top of my head.
Right.
We ask them things like, what are your goals? What's your mission? Like, what do you want people to do? Do you want to just get more followers? Do you want more sales? Who inspires you? Who doesn't inspire you? Like, give me some things that you saw across the internet that like you want to emulate. That kind of thing. And then we just build that into a deck saying like, this is the type of person that you want to market, like someone from 25 to 30 years old who's medium income, who, you know, gets attracted to this, that, and the third. And, you know, and we try to really build that marketing strategy off that.
That's dope. I guess for me, the strategy play that you use is that 50 questions, I guess, is like a lot.
Yeah, I mean,
But I guess that's the way you get to get all the information that you need in order for you to make it successful. Now, when you speak to a client, what is it that do you like give them a vision board of what success could look like within a year's time, 6 years, 6 months time?
Yeah.
Do you have something like that?
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot. Going back to the questions, it's a lot, but like the clients are playing a lot for it. So it's not like, so, you know, you don't want a client that's going to come and be like, just take care of it. Like they got to answer those questions. Like,
Right.
like what do you want your end goal to be?
Right.
Right. And, you know, we usually do give our clients like what success looks like in a 6 month to a year time. Like all our contracts are a minimum of like 3 months. And like, we don't even like doing that because when you're trying to grow your social media, when you're trying to grow your marketing presence, like you're not going to see it in a month or two, like a minimum of 3 months. And still that's like, you know, if you're only going to be with us for 3 months and then like dip, then it's like, what was the point of doing it anyway? But yeah, we do give our clients, it's all in the deck, like what it's going to look like in 3 months, like what we hope to achieve. We do our milestones because the milestones really like give you things to work towards, makes it look like, okay, I'm getting a return on my dollar, because that's really what it is. The clients want a return on their money in some way, shape, or form that they deem is important. Yeah.
Do you express that to them? Do you express that, listen, within a 3 months gap period is but so much we can accomplish together, right? Is that expressed throughout the journey? Because if I'm hearing that, okay, 3 months is not ideal expectation, maybe I should bring it down to, I should move it to more like 6 months to a year to have a lengthy expectation, so that way I can budget it properly. Because what happens is we budget things with the expectations of we're going to turn it around within this promised time. So do you express that by saying, hey, there's a possibility that we may not grow it the way you would like based off your expectations, but there may be within this 3 months time, this is what we can accomplish?
Yeah. A lot of clients that we run into, like, it's kind of funny nowadays. Most people are just like, I want to go viral. It's like,
but that's the thing right now.
That's the thing. Everybody want to go viral. Everybody wants that like hit wonder. Everybody wants those like 50,000 views, you know? And granted, we could probably do that on TikTok, because TikTok is like exploding right now. And if we think of original content that we could make with you and like post on TikTok on a consistent basis, then yeah, you might blow on TikTok, get like 30,000 views, 50,000 views, you know. But on all the other social media channels, it's like, you know, you have to mitigate your viral needs, you know. Like we might be able to make you go viral, but we definitely will be able to get you like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 new followers with that consistency and you know good graphics, good visuals, like good message, that kind of thing, connecting with your community, that kind of thing.
So you basically outline everything. Oh, that's dope.
Yeah.
And let me. Do you believe that this was a good pivot for you?
I do believe it was a good pivot for us. Okay. I really do, because we started NOM, the food media platform, in order to tell stories that weren't being told. Right. There are about like 220 ethnicities in the world that are like recognized by the UN. It might be more that's not recognized. But when it came to food media, you saw only like the same handful being like repeated all over again. It's just like, there's always like the top pizza shops in the area, like, and the top like tacos and like, you know, and then when it comes to like the Michelin guide, you know, you have those top rated restaurants and only about less than 1% are like minority owned restaurants. And you're just like, what happened to like all the other, you know, restaurants, all the other ethnicities out there that have like amazing food? Like one person I came across she's basically like a Russian Asian. And you know how like Russia and Asia, Russia and Chinese, not Chinese, sorry, Russia and China like border each other.
Right.
So like the most western part of China and the most eastern part of Russia like interconnect. And then you have people who look Chinese that speak pure Russian, and they have their own community and own, you know, ethnicity and culture out there and food that they eat. And it's like, you never hear about that, but that stuff is amazing. And, you know, we wanted to tell those kind of stories from a diversity aspect, especially as like a Black man in this. I feel like, you know, we kind of could go places that most people can't, right?
Right.
Yeah, we kind of could say a little things a little bit more recklessly, or like ask questions that people might be offended about, but we really just want to know.
We're curious.
We're curious, yeah. And so that's what we really want to do. And, you know, we had to pivot a bit. And I feel like we're still telling stories. We're telling the story that, you know, whether it's a corporate brand, or, you know, another brand wants to tell over their social media, we're helping them tell their stories and get out to their community, especially from the digital marketing perspective, all the way to the video production if they want us to create videos for them. So I do think it's a great pivot. We're getting a lot of content from people. I'm talking to a lot of people, because right now, you know, as a small time video production, I'm acting like the producer. So like I talk to the people, you know, with my team and everything. And so I think it's a great pivot. I think it's getting us a lot of content, because usually in our contracts, we are like, you have the rights to all your stuff, but we get to use it in our portfolios. We get to use it in our marketing as well, you know, and most people are cool with that.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, at the end of the day, you're still marketing for them.
Yeah. They get another channel.
Yeah. You get, right. It's another channel for them to get exposure. No, I think that's awesome. You touched on something that brought me back to my childhood memories. So we had this Asian. Well, I thought he was. Well, I don't know how to explain this story. But anyway, he looked Asian, right? And he probably, you know, background and everything like that is Asian. I'm Asian. But then as we got older, and I was like, man, you know, Asians can be a little bit rough, and it's not. It's just how people. It's, you know,
that's how they were brought up.
That's how they brought up. Yeah, you know, it all depends on the, exactly, their culture and how they were raised, right? So they're probably a little bit more straightforward. Certain Asians, like for example, the Japanese are not. You know, they could be semi-timid, not timid, but you know, they're more respectful in how they deliver the message. Whereas their Asian counterparts are probably a little bit more aggressive when it comes to certain things. So he was like really aggressive. And then as we got older, we were young and he was on the block, right? And as we got older, I finally built the confidence or the courage to have a conversation with him, because you couldn't even approach him. This guy was like really tough, right? And then as I got to know him better, I come to realize he was Jamaican. Same rough exterior, right? But he was like, no, I'm Jamaican. And he was proud. And I would have never guessed looking from the outside. So then when you brought this story up about having, you know, Russian Asians and then having their own perspective when it comes to food and their different culture, it's not a division. It's more of like, all right, this is what we're doing. Yeah. This is what we grew into. Yeah. And so when speaking to him, he was fully Jamaican. There was no Asian in this guy. Yeah. So, but I'm glad you touched on that, because it reflected something back in the days. You decided this is something that was a great pivot. Yeah. I still feel that the story needs to be told for.
Yeah, the story absolutely needs to be told. But, you know, if you want to start touching on.
Is that something that you're going to touch on later on? We're
definitely going to touch on later on, because, you know, I like to go back and think about this one story I heard where Jeff Bezos, there's his old assistant. She didn't really even have a job title. I heard her on a podcast one day, and they're asking her, how was it working with Jeff Bezos for the number of years that she was working with? And she was like, I don't even know what title I had. I just helped them with a bunch of stuff. And then she told the story about how she had to book him he had to go see some sites in Texas,
Mm-hmm.
like all in the same day, but they're ridiculously far away from each other. And he was like, I only have like one day to see it. I need to do it. So this is back in like the 1990s or something when he was first coming up in Amazon. And so she was like, okay, she figured out how to book a chopper, blah, blah, this and that. So booked him a chopper. Come to find out, she got a call. The chopper that he went down, he was super excited about. Come to find out, the chopper that he was on crashed. And so she's like, oh my God, I killed Jeff Bezos. Like, he's the next like tech guy. He's in all the magazines. He's like the golden child of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And he ended up being okay, right? But he ended up buying one of the sites in like Texas that he was looking for. And she was just like, you know, back in like 1998 or early 2000s, he was doing this. And that was now the site of his space thing, the blue, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that just goes to show you that, like, even when he was building Amazon in its infancy, he was already thinking towards like 2020, 2021, where he was like, I'm going to create like space, something that has to do with space.
Right.
Blue Origins, that's what it is. I was going to create Blue Origins, and he did it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the same thing with me. It's like, I'm building up NOM Media because the reason I had to put a pause on Eat NOM is because no one was providing funding. As a Black man, it's hard to get funding.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody sees the vision.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I had people who see the vision, but, you know, you have to knock on a lot of doors and everything.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I kept coming back to was at the time we were creating media, we had no income. Right. So it was just like nobody wanted to fund something that was based
that's
on
that's not generating
income. That's based on like ads. And when you say ads for generating income, people get scared.
Yeah.
Especially people in the media space.
Because it's not guaranteed.
It's not guaranteed. You need millions of views nowadays to generate like a percentage of income. And so it's just like, how are we going to generate income? And it was just like, okay, why don't we use our capabilities that we're using for ourselves for other people? And, you know, we launched that near the end of last quarter, like in October, November. And right now we have over like 20K in recurring revenue. And, you know, as a small business with like 8 to 11 employees, like when you say like I have 20K in recurring revenue and it's just growing, that makes like people's eyes light up. And so that is the goal, to like, you know, create this recurring revenue system to grow, to, you know, go back to investors and say, like, we have this income and this is another part of what we're doing. And then this create those verticals. And then, you know, we could create that media company, because we do want to be like a Blavity. We do want to be like an Eater. We do want to be like that hub where like you have that very diverse team telling stories that are told by a diverse team. Because you go out there and you see like the YouTubes and like the Netflixes, and you see like, you know, these food stories being told by, you know, all these production companies who unfortunately are owned by, you know, white guys at the top. But like, we want to have a role in that, you know, we want to be like our own Ryan Coogler, that kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I think that's amazing. Two things I want. One, with the Bezos things. One of the things I researched him and Elon and all of them. They think in decades.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. When they map out something, they map it out for the decade.
Yeah.
So for the next 10 years, I'm going to accomplish X, Y, and Z. They probably have their daily goals, but the way they view things is always within decades.
Yeah.
So that's true to what the statement that you made earlier. And then I think the other part of it, that going back to the initial start of what, the mission statement, what started this whole journey, is always a good thing. When you can realize, okay, maybe I need to leverage my strengths, make some money, and then use that as an opportunity to open a door for what initially we had in mind.
Exactly.
Two things can happen with that, though. One thing is the thing that you're working on can really scale quickly, and then you may not have the opportunity to go back. Or may not want to, because, you know, now demand is growing substantially so well that now it's like, oh, okay, I need to occupy my time here for the time being. Or you can go back to the initial idea, but then you're working two factions of the company.
Well, the thing with that with me is that I learned very quickly, which I feel like is a topic of conversation for other people, is that like you see one thing that I always was so fascinated about is like the media effect. Like if a show if a restaurant went viral,
Right.
or like a show featured somebody, right?
Right.
Featured like a restaurant, and then now they have lines around the block, right? What I usually see is that those owners, they're like, I fucking hate it. Like, I'm like, why do you hate that?
Yeah.
And they're just like, I used to have a quiet restaurant,
Yeah.
and now I have lines down the block and this and that, and they're still working every day. And it's just like, you know, unfortunately, like we weren't taught this. I had to learn this myself, but it's just like, okay, you have lines down the block, so raise your prices and get help. You shouldn't be in the kitchen every day.
Yeah.
Raise your prices, get help,
But
and then do something else.
What happens is a lot of times we don't want to relinquish control.
Yeah, and that's insane to me.
That is insane. The other thing that happens is some people just don't know how to delegate.
Yeah, and I agree. I feel like I still don't know how to delegate, but I love setting up processes. I love setting up.
That could be your strength.
Yeah, I love setting up processes. Like right now in like the digital media thing, like we have a bunch of clients, and I find that people feel bad about like taking people's idea. I don't. I'm probably gonna get killed.
No. I'm about to co-sign what you just said, because Steve Jobs used to steal ideas all the time. He went in one time about the mouse. I forget where he was at. But anyway, it's out there. If you Google, if you do your research properly, you'll find it.
Yeah.
So he went out. He went somewhere and he saw the mouse. And then he stole that idea and took it back and said, hey, I want something like this. Now, the difference is when someone takes an idea and evolves it.
Yes. Yeah. And that's exactly what I mean. It's like with processes, like we have a bunch of digital marketing clients, right? And right now I'm like dabbling in all of them. But my plan is to get like a head social media marketer,
right?
And they take care of that, and they just report back to me, right? We have a plan to release a digital marketing masterclass for social media, where we run into a lot of people who would love to work with us, but they're like, "You're a bit too expensive for us. We want to try this on our own." So we're gonna create like modules that people could buy for like less than half the price, and be able to read that, look over it, and say like, okay, this is how I do this is how I do that, this is how I outreach, this is how I do stuff with my community. But how did we come up with this idea? I didn't just come up with this idea out of nowhere. I was doing my research like I usually do nightly, or like every now and again, with like, what's the next step? And I saw a couple of like people who were doing like master classes, and I was just like, other marketing agencies that do master classes. And it's just like, all right, so I paid for one. It was $1,200, but I paid for one. And I was just like, yo, this is awesome. I'll just do this differently. Right? And it's just like, I'll take that idea, I'll kind of evolve it a little bit and pertain it to me. Because, most of these social media masterclasses are catered to, the white adult who's in like that whitewashed industry. There's nobody in our lane doing it right now. And that's how I do get a lot of my clients. One of our biggest clients right now is Eat Okra. And, the reason they signed with us, other than signing with like other marketing companies, is because like they felt like they had someone who's a seat at the table who understands them. Yeah.
And you guys had a good relationship.
Yeah.
So it's always good to have a good relationship, but then the vision still has to align.
Yeah. But I like relationships do mean everything, but I don't like to like rely on that. Like just because I have a good relationship doesn't mean I'm going to like be like, yo, let's just give me the job. Like I'm going to put a bomb ass deck together for you and be like, yo, this is what it looks 6 months from now. This is what it looks 1 year from now.
But as you should, because at the end of the day, if he's satisfied, if they're satisfied, somebody else is going to be satisfied.
Exactly.
Somebody's going to actually see it.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure you put your best foot forward, so that way the next person that sees it be like, hold on, I want something like that, identical to that.
Yeah. So I'm a big proponent for setting up processes and making sure like this lane is taken care of on autopilot, so I could focus on this lane and scaling. Like, just like you said, they think in decades. I actually do. In my Google Drive, me and my partner, we have like a 10-year plan, 8, 5, 3, and then 1 year. And then in the 1 year is like 3, 6, 9. Yeah.
So we identical in that way, because I like to, and I've learned this. I've learned this, doing, reading up on different successful people, that I've learned that it's okay to look that far ahead in decades, right? And like, for example, my boy Smitty would be like, all right, I see where you're going 5, 6 years from now, but what about today and tomorrow? And I'm like, today, and I just feel like today and tomorrow will take care of itself. But I also understand that everything is broken down in phases. So you got, all right, let's complete phase 1 before we get there. But you should always keep your eye out for what's to come, what's in the future, what you plan to do. So even though you have the 10-year, the decade oversight, you still have to have the phases in between. So,
and it takes a special type of person to do that, because, nowadays most people can't focus on one thing. Like,
you know what they say? That they say the mind can't really multitask. It only does one thing at a time. And the people that are gifted at it, they still not multitasking. They just know how to shift from one thing to the next a lot quicker.
That's interesting
than
you say
most
that.
people.
Because I tell my partner all the time, I'm like, I'm the king of multitasking. I can do a million things. And to an extent, that's like bad, because like, she's just like, you need to focus. And, as a business owner, sometimes I could come off crass and crude. And, there are times where I'm just like, things don't get done. I'm like, why don't you just do your fucking job? And then she like reels me back in, and she's like, sometimes you gotta slow down. And I'm like, all right.
Yeah, you gotta slow down. So he's like that, right? So my boy Smitty's like that. He's like, the expectation is
so high.
The expectation is so high, where it's like, bro, he's like, do your job. Like, so I'm more like, I'm okay with allowing you to fail. All right, because I know that you're gonna get it. You have to get it eventually. If you don't, then you have to have a conversation. But I feel more like, okay, I'm gonna give you an opportunity for you to make as much errors before you start, because it has to be your own project. It has to be your thing. If that's your position, that's your job. You have to own it. Sometimes the best way to own it is be like, go take care of it. It's like,
I think where I learned that coming up is when I was in corporate. I was a project manager for Local 3 Electricians Union. And I got a job one day for an electrical shop. And they're just like, you're going to come in as, part of our like project management estimating team. And I was like, all right, dope. They definitely said team. I got hired. I came into the office. I was the only guy, like, in that, so to speak, team. There's no team. It was just me, right?
Well, you're part of their team.
Yeah, I was part of their team. But like, I thought it was like an internal, like, estimating project manager team. And I was just like, what? There's no like head estimator. They're like, nah, it was just you. And so that like 1.5, 2 years I worked for them, like, there was nobody next to me to be like, yo, how do they usually do this? Like, how do you usually do that? So it was me at the age of like 23 figuring out processes, like finding out how to do. That's where I'd say all the time, that's where I learned to become a Google ninja.
I was about to say, like, do you feel that it helped you along
absolutely
the way?
Absolutely.
But I'm pretty sure you was like cursing it out, like, how they gonna leave me hanging, like, but now you're like, if it wasn't for this.
They just, in place where it was just like, it just had to get done. There was no excuse. Like, so I had to Google, I had to like figure it out. I had to call people, like, and I never came in a place. I always worked in a place where it's just like, Theo, do this. Cool. Is this what you want to do? Well, yeah, that's what I want. Okay. Like,
But this gave you opportunity, but they gave you a room for errors, right?
they did give me room for errors. Were the errors like, welcome to no. I mean, I got my ass chewed out when the errors did come, but it had to be done.
It had to be done.
It had to be done.
It's yours, right?
Yeah, it's mine.
They're paying you to do it. See, that's the thing I never agree with. I never agree while we onboard somebody, we pay them, and yeah, you got to lead with context. I'm 100% believer in that. You got to explain to them what it is that we're out to get, what it is, what we need, and X, X, Y, and Z, right? But I never believe on enforcing how exactly I want it. Like, yeah, because then why did I onboard you? I might as well do it myself.
Yeah.
I brought you on board to have a creativity, a different outlook, a different insight to things. Mm-hmm. So if you're coming on board, I'm expecting you to have some of those credentials already there, right?
I want to see your creativity.
I want to see that. Yeah. That makes the team gel because now you're bringing a different look to the table.
Yeah, yeah.
And we're not spinning the table looking at the same things all the time. Now it's some fresh things in the deck.
Yeah.
So we could really, all right, let's combine our thoughts and our creativity and make this work. But why onboard somebody to give them exactly your whole mindset?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the job, I think. Some jobs are just data entry, and that's okay. Right. And if you need it done a certain way, it's done a certain way. But, we're in a very creative field. So, I need that creativeness when I hire you. I need to see you shine and be comfortable. Just because you did this graphic or you edited this video doesn't mean it's wrong. I want to see how you see it, what are you into? Right. And that's why I pride my company on being diverse, because you have someone that looks like me, Theo. You have someone that looks like you. My partner is Jewish and Italian, and the type of stuff she looks at and the type of stuff she likes, she gels with those clients that gravitate to her. And then I have another girl on my team.
Taste palettes.
Yeah, another girl on the team who's Filipino, right? And then she has her own and just having all that diversity come together just allows you to be able to be palatable to a wider audience that I'm not seeing that's out there right now.
You have such an eclectic group. I remember hearing about how you had, even back then when you first started off, how you had a gang of interns. First of all, I want to know, because I was struggling to just get one intern, and here you are, you had a whole gang of interns.
Yeah,
What's your secret, bro?
At one point, I had 20, 30 interns.
Nancy, didn't I tell you that? I told him, I said, hey, he had 30 of them. And I was how some people are struggling. And meanwhile, he's just collecting them. And you had no funding then.
I had to make it work. That's what you got to make it work.
You got to tell me the secret.
Well, it's a couple of things. It was just reaching out to colleges. I'd reach out to Howard. I'd reach out to Rutgers. I'd reach out to Stony Brook.
Oh, so nobody was in-state. You had everybody someplace else?
Well, I originally started the company in September of 2019. So I'm a pandemic company, which I love, because you hear about all the companies that, before we get into the interns, you hear about all the companies that started during the financial crash of 2008.
2008, yeah.
And they're all up here. There. And I was just yo, if history is anything, starting a pandemic company, 10 years, I'm set, right?
Right.
But yeah, fact that's pandemic, everything just happened to work out that everything is remote. Right. And being a company that is creative, that wrote articles, that needed social media help, that needed website help, that needed all those creative outlets. Mm-hmm. I just reached out to colleges and I went on LinkedIn, and you could post jobs on LinkedIn, as you know. And I would just put interns, and I'd be I put in big red letters at the top of thing, not paid, not paid. But anything that you do as an intern, you could take full credit for. Mm-hmm. Put it in your portfolio. Mm-hmm. It'll be put on our website. I'll give you a lot. Most of my interns were in journalism, because we were writing a lot of articles at the time about food. Mm-hmm. So I wanted diverse interns from all walks of life that were love to write. And so we would say we put your name on the byline. It's like most places just like, okay, you write a thing and be like, the NOM staff wrote it. Like, no, I'm not going to do that. Like, I'm going to say Stanley wrote it, right? Even though you're in college and you get to be on the byline. It's going to be on the website. You get to put in your portfolio, you get the credit. So I said, I'm not paying these interns, which is a big thing nowadays. That's a whole conversation. Like, should you pay for interns or not? Right.
That was our biggest. So when I spoke to, not Indeed, it was another one I spoke to. And well, Indeed, one of the guys that worked for Indeed, he helped me create the whole rec. To make sure that it was, everything was good and on point. We cross our T's, dot our I's. But it was another one that I uploaded on before he got a chance to take a look at it. And that was one of the biggest discussions. Should we pay an intern? Shouldn't we pay an intern? What are we offering? What are the incentives to keep them? So it was a lot of issues going back and forth. And then I was talking to an HR person and they broke it down to me. And then it was like, all right, well, basically you got to pay them something, right? So, but I won't get too much details of it because I don't know all of it. I just went by what the HR person told me and what the Indeed person told me, and that was it.
Well, that's a whole conversation. Right. I mean, I remember we had one intern that like pulled us over to like called like a group meeting and was like, "We're doing this for you, and you're not paying us." And I was just like, "Bro, you agreed." I like in the message to reach. Okay, so we wouldn't not pay multiple places. We put it on the job description. When we reached out to them in the email to like set up an interview, we put it there. Right. We like reiterated like 5 times. And so it's all about just giving something back because most of these interns were in college and they needed credit. And they need someone to sign on their like credit line. And we were a legitimate company. We're a legitimate like LLC and now a C Corp. So I could, for the time that you wrote your articles, I could sign off on your paper saying like, hey, he was an intern here. This is your college credit. And we even got people who were out of college who just needed the experience, whether it's in social media or whatever we did, that needed it for their portfolio. They needed it to show places. So we always gave that platform for interns to creatively express themselves and gain that credit. That's why, that conversation, should we pay the interns, wasn't really a big deal for us because it wasn't like we were Google, like not paying it. We were a startup. We had $0 to our name, and I'm helping you out if you're helping me out, right? And I'm super big about communication. So I mean, we had like 30 at one time. That was a stressful time managing 30 people.
All different personalities.
All different personalities. All different writing styles. All different like thoughts and processes. But like, that helped us grow. That did help us grow a lot.
Well, it kind of helped you grow too.
Yeah.
You got a chance to immerse yourself with dealing with multiple people with multiple skill sets.
Yes.
And see where I can implement them in the right position so everybody could win.
Yeah. I mean, I think one thing a lot of people do with companies is that they try to force people into what they need. But you really need to step back and pay attention to like, what are your people's strengths and weaknesses?
Absolutely.
And it's like, don't force them to do something they're not good at. Like, let them do something they're good at and then find somebody else for something that you need.
Yeah. Yeah. But this been great. I just want to say one thing, right? I want to make sure that we capture not just your thoughts, right?
Yeah.
I want you to share with people this advice that I tend to ask a lot of people when it comes to giving back to the community. So if somebody was younger than you, because you guys are all about the community, you guys are all about creating this marketing campaign that's organic, that's gonna get the community involved, get people involved, and things like that. So if somebody, a younger version of Theo tries to come out right now and says, "Listen, I'm interested in doing what you're doing." Right? What feedback would you give them to get started now?
I would say whatever your passion is, just go for it. I mean, I don't think there's a right answer to that, to be honest. It's like, don't give up. I think that's the biggest thing. There's a lot of things that I did growing up where I was just like, I want to do that. And then it didn't work out. I was like, that's not going to work out. Like, and I have this like conviction now. I would say like learn conviction and learn how to problem solve.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. Because you're going to run into a lot of problems. You're going to run into a lot of problems.
Yeah.
But if you can't problem solve, like, it's going to work out. And, just know it's a time frame. Nothing's going to happen overnight unless you're extremely lucky.
Even then, I still think that you still got to put in the work.
Yeah, definitely still got to.
Even when you're lucky and you scale quickly, unless you got the right team.
Yeah,
because I've seen it before. I've seen companies that had the right team and the leader was, a decent leader. People like him. People respect the leader, and they made it work.
Yeah.
So even then, I still think that there's some degree of work that still, even when you get lucky.
Yeah.
I don't think you can escape that.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, but and I know like your entrepreneurship skills came from your parents, right? Your dad?
Yeah. So my dad, both my parents are Haitian, and my dad came here and, he started working as like a livery cab driver.
Yeah.
And then he saved up enough money to buy a medallion, a yellow cab medallion. And he bought like a couple, and, it sucks what happened with the yellow cab medallion now, but he was managing.
Yeah, but at the time,
they go out.
You had one.
Yeah, and he was managing a couple people. And I think my dad, like, he always put into my mind, like, you could be whatever you want to be. He was like, maybe you'll be the first Black president of the United States, but Obama beat me. But, he would say stuff like that to me. Like, I remember, he would make me read, the summer reading lists.
Mm-hmm.
He like, pick 2 books or 3 books. He used to make me read the whole thing.
Yeah.
All the books on that list. So so it was definitely like, my dad's entrepreneurial and learning spirit and problem solving, traits that he put into me that helped me get to where I am right now.
That's what's up, man.
Yeah.
This has been awesome. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it, man.
One last thing. Please let them know where they can reach you at.
My personal Instagram is Teddy B Cakes, TEDDY B Cakes with an S.
Mm-hmm.
We have our food Instagram, which is _EATNOM, EATNOM.
Mm-hmm.
And our digital marketing Instagram is _NOM Media, NOMMEDIA, or nommedia.co.
Hey, thank you so much. First of all, I would like to shout out Jeff Lindorf for putting this together. We at the Gentleman's Factory, and this is their new facility, which encompasses this whole podcast room that they got going on. And he asked us to come by and show some love, and which we did. Shout out to Jeff.
Jeff is doing big things, bro. He's another one of my
doing huge things, man.
Inspires me, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, just a reminder that you can find us on It Starts Now. The handle's in the description. Remember to subscribe, share, and don't forget to leave a comment or question you'd like us to answer. Thank you for joining us. I am Stan Lane. As always, It Starts Now.